She was once branded the woman who came between Prince Charles and Princess Diana. Now, Camilla's name is once again sending shockwaves through the British public with a bombshell accusation she has stolen Diana's crown, the iconic symbol of a royal era forever marked by heartbreak, scandal, and tragedy. What some dismissed as mere gossip is now being whispered from within palace walls, sparking questions of morality, power, and behind-the-scenes schemes within the royal court. No one has forgotten the haunting gaze of Princess Diana in her final days. That crown was not just a glittering headpiece, but a symbol of her pain, sacrifice, and the injustices she endured. And now, that sacred heirloom, once carefully locked away after Diana's mysterious and untimely death, has allegedly reappeared. Seen atop Camilla's head at a private gathering and attended only by her most trusted inner circle. For the public, it wasn't just a bold fashion choice. It was seen as a cold betrayal, a blatant act of disrespect to Diana's memory. If this accusation holds truth, one must ask, does Camilla truly deserve to be called queen? Or has this act become a defining misstep, deepening public distrust and pushing the monarchy closer to its breaking point? This may be more than just a scandal. It could ignite a full-blown royal reckoning. Let's uncover the truth. When Camilla finally grasped the crown she had always craved, fate dealt a brutal blow to the man who had given up everything for her, King Charles III. Just as he had barely settled into his long-awaited throne, devastating news cut through the royal dream like a cold blade. The royal doctors confirmed the king had cancer. The illness arrived like a cruel warning, a stark reminder that no crown is immune to the laws of life and death. While public opinion remains divided over Camilla's role, the king's health quickly became the centerpiece of every newspaper headline. A monarch once seen as resilient through countless storms was now facing the one battle no one could fight on his behalf, time itself. The truth is, this illness not only threatens Charles's life, but also throws the British monarchy into a whirlwind of uncertainty. Who will succeed him, and more importantly, will the heir choose to maintain the silence of the past, or reveal the secrets long buried within palace walls? All eyes are now on Prince William, the son of Diana, the icon, the martyr, the people's princess. He embodies the future, yet carries scars of a deeply fractured past. Will he quietly accept the throne, continuing his father's legacy of silence in the face of pain? Or will he rise as a reformer, unafraid to shine light into the monarchy's darkest corridors? Charles knows time is no longer on his side. And he also knows one thing even more painfully: he cannot control William the way he once controlled Camilla or Diana's legacy. William is no longer the obedient boy of yesterday. He is a man who lost his mother under suspicious circumstances, a man who has seen what the palace hides, and now faces a historic choice to protect the dynasty or confront the truth. Sources from inside the palace whisper that William has already begun attending high-level meetings, not as a prince in waiting, but as a king in transition. Camilla is reportedly anxious. Though she holds the title of queen, she knows that when William ascends, her influence could dwindle rapidly. For William has not forgotten the years his mother lived under Camilla's shadow. Buckingham Palace, once the stage for grand banquets and flawless ceremony, is now a silent battlefield. Behind its ancient stone walls lie sealed documents, hidden truths, and desperate calculations. In the center of it all stands Charles, a monarch at death's door, forced to confront the legacy he leaves behind, and one that may be judged a failure if William chooses to expose the truth. Rumors suggest William has secretly sought private advisors and recovered Diana's hidden diaries and voice recordings materials Charles had once locked away. Perhaps William is seeking answers, or perhaps he's preparing for a historic reckoning. Either way, a confrontation looms not between father and son, but between a fading king and the future of the crown. If Charles is no longer able to appear publicly, abdication may come sooner than expected. And William, once silent out of royal duty, may finally have the chance to rewrite the next chapter in his own voice. But when that day comes, will William let the past rest, Or will it be the day the entire United Kingdom must finally confront what really happened to Diana, to justice and to truth? Perhaps King Charles never imagined that the crown he waited a lifetime for would become a collar tightening around his neck in his final days. And maybe he never anticipated the most terrifying scenario of all, that the throne he so coveted would not be passed down in glory, but under judgment, and by the very son who once stood in silence. The House of Windsor now stands at a crossroads, not a political crisis, but a crisis of truth. The throne is not just about power, it is about trust. And when that trust is broken, even kings and queens may find forgiveness out of reach. After tying the knot in 2005, the Queen Consort is sharing what has kept their marriage, which was Charles's second following his divorce from the late Princess Diana in 1996, going strong after 15 years together. Camilla tells a group of reporters during her recent state visit to Italy on April 9th per Hello magazine, Camilla caught red-handed. A shocking discovery inside Buckingham Palace has left the monarchy reeling. A secret vault, hidden from public records, packed with Princess Diana's iconic jewels, including the sapphire brooch and the legendary diamond choker. But here's the twist: Queen Camilla had exclusive access for years. Why were these treasures locked away? And why wasn't Kate Middleton, Diana's daughter-in-law, ever told? Now Kate is demanding justice. The public is erupting, and the palace is in full damage control mode. For years, rumors whispered through the halls of Buckingham Palace hinted at secrets. Secrets locked away behind walls no one dared touch. But no one expected this. It began as an ordinary inventory check deep within the royal archives. A royal aide, tasked with organizing seldom-seen storage rooms, noticed something odd: a faint seam along a wall where there shouldn't be one. Curiosity turned into discovery when a concealed door creaked open, revealing a vault shrouded in dust and silence. What lay inside? Nothing short of a royal bombshell. Inside were dozens of velvet-lined boxes holding pieces not seen since the days of Diana. Princess of Wales sparkling gems, regal brooches, historic heirlooms. At the center of it all, Diana's iconic sapphire brooch and the unforgettable diamond choker she wore during her famous dance with John Travolta. Both had vanished from public view decades ago. Now they were back, in the most mysterious way. This wasn't just forgotten storage, whispered a palace source. Someone went to great lengths to hide it. Almost immediately, the question wasn't what was found, but why it had been hidden. Why weren't William and Harry ever told? Why was this vault unregistered in royal inventory records? And who had the key to something so well hidden? The royal family's walls aren't just made of stone. They're made of tradition, secrecy, and power. And this vault cracked that foundation wide open. As whispers of the vault echoed beyond palace walls, attention quickly shifted to one person: Queen Camilla. Records revealed a trail of quiet visits, discreet entries, and restricted access. Was she simply preserving these jewels, or was there something far more calculated at play? The royal household demanded answers, and the truth behind Camilla's connection to the vault would only deepen the mystery. Camilla's secret custody. It wasn't just coincidence. Palace logs confirmed that Camilla, now Queen Consort, had exclusive access to the corridor where the hidden vault was found. Over the past several years, she had entered that space alone multiple times, each visit unrecorded, each door locked behind her. She said it was for preservation, a former staffer noted. But no one knew what she was preserving. Traditionally, royal heirlooms tied to Diana were meant for her sons and their wives, especially pieces like the sapphire brooch, so closely connected to Diana's public image. The fact that Camilla not only withheld these pieces but also kept their existence secret raised deep suspicions. Was she guarding them for the crown or for herself? "It's not about the jewels," said one royal commentator. "It's about what they represent: Diana's legacy. And when Camilla keeps that under lock and key, it sends a message." Insiders claim the Queen Consort had long been uneasy with how Diana's memory loomed over the monarchy. By quietly tucking these artifacts away, some suggest Camilla was trying to reshape the narrative, moving the spotlight from the past to the present. But the backlash was immediate. Within hours of the vault discovery, palace officials were in crisis mode. Senior advisors demanded a full investigation. Family members began asking hard questions, and public pressure grew with every passing hour. Camilla's role, once quiet and dignified, was now under a microscope. The headlines screamed betrayal, and behind palace doors, whispers of confrontation were already beginning. But the vault wasn't empty. It held treasures known across the world. Pieces captured in photographs, remembered in magazine spreads, tied to emotional moments in history. These were not just hidden items. They were missing pieces of Diana's story. And among them, two stood out as the most powerful symbols of her legacy. The next revelation would turn up the pressure even more. Notable missing pieces: there are jewels, and then there are royal symbols. The sapphire brooch, deep blue, rimmed with diamonds, wasn't just Diana's accessory, it was a piece of her public identity. She wore it during key events, often pairing it with her sapphire engagement ring. It shimmered not only with gems, but with history. And the diamond choker, that unforgettable night at the White House dancing with John Travolta, sealed it as an icon forever. When these items were found hidden in the vault, the shock turned into outrage. "These were some of the most beloved items associated with Diana," said one royal historian. "Their absence wasn't just suspicious, it felt deliberate." For years, royal watchers and fashion archivists had quietly wondered where they had gone. Some thought they had been gifted to William and Kate, others assumed they were in private storage, awaiting the right moment. No one imagined they were hidden in a vault no one knew existed. And then came the emotional impact. These weren't just trinkets, they were supposed to be part of the family legacy, worn proudly by Diana's daughters-in-law to honor her memory. The idea that they had been locked away, untouched, for decades felt like erasing a chapter of royal history. "It's not about wearing them," said a royal aide close to the family. "It's about remembering who she was." Questions quickly followed. If these iconic pieces were hidden, what else might be lost? How many more heirlooms were sealed away, disconnected from the people they were meant to reach? The brooch, the choker, the silence together. They told a story, one the public wasn't ready to forget, and one the palace couldn't ignore. As the royal household scrambled to make sense of what was unfolding, one detail became painfully clear. This wasn't just a case of missing jewels. It was a breach of royal protocol. The monarchy runs on traditions, timelines, and transitions, and what happened with Diana's jewelry had broken every unspoken rule. The question now, who allowed it? Deviation from protocol. The monarchy thrives on order, rules or protocols, inherited customs. So when the system breaks down, even quietly, it sends shockwaves. Royal jewelry isn't just passed down at random. It follows a tradition. Significant pieces, especially those with emotional or historical weight, are entrusted to the next generation's sons, wives, heirs, not hidden in walls. "This should have never happened," said a former royal protocol officer. "It goes against every rule in the book." Normally, a piece like Diana's sapphire brooch would have gone to William or even Kate as a gesture of legacy and respect. The diamond choker, likely gifted for state occasions or lent for official functions. That's how the system works, or rather, how it's supposed to. Instead, the discovery revealed something darker, a deviation rooted in secrecy. There were no formal records showing the brooch or choker being assigned to anyone. No paperwork, no ceremonial transfer, just silence and dust. What's more troubling, this wasn't an accident. It was an intentional break from tradition. Camilla's continued access, the lack of communication, the refusal to disclose the vault's contents, it painted a picture of control, quiet, calculated control. Palace insiders began pushing for answers. Who approved this? Why weren't Diana's sons told? And was this the only instance? Or just the tip of the iceberg as the public grew restless? The monarchy's reputation for upholding legacy came under fire. In a world where every move is scrutinized, even a brooch can become a symbol of broken trust. And behind the scenes, the tension was building, especially for one person whose connection to Diana was personal, emotional, and unbreakable. While the media spotlight swirled around the palace, Princess Kate was quietly struggling with a discovery of her own. She had wanted to honor Diana at a charity gala with that very brooch, only to be told it was missing. Her private search would uncover the truth, and what she found would shake her sense of trust and stir a storm no one saw coming. Initial reactions: the moment news of the vault broke, the mood inside the palace shifted. What was once quiet routine turned into frantic whispers, hushed meetings, and sleepless nights. From senior aides to junior staffers, no one could believe what they had just learned. "There's always been secrets in these walls," one palace official murmured. But this felt different. This felt wrong. At first, it was confusion. Then came the outrage. Many within the palace believed the jewelry had been properly accounted for, that the iconic pieces of Diana's were in the hands of her children or held in transparent storage. The revelation that they were stashed in a hidden vault sparked a crisis of trust. Some aides were furious that such a break in tradition went unnoticed for so long. Others were heartbroken, especially those who had worked with Diana or remembered her fondly. "Those jewels weren't just shiny things," a longtime staff member said. "They were part of her soul, part of what she gave to this family." And at the top of it all sat King Charles, who now faced an internal storm. Whispers circulated that he was caught off guard by the discovery. Others wondered whether he had known but stayed silent, hoping the issue would stay buried, just like the vault. Behind closed doors, emergency meetings were called. Advisors rushed to draft public statements. Lawyers were consulted. The situation wasn't just emotional, it was now political and possibly even legal. "This isn't just a family matter anymore," said a royal advisor. "It's a public one, and how the palace handles it will define how the monarchy is seen." And while the palace scrambled to protect its image and manage damage control, one figure stood quietly at the center of it all: Princess Kate. She hadn't planned to become a central voice in the controversy, but what started as a simple request to wear Diana's brooch led her down a path of disappointment, betrayal, and an emotional reckoning. Kate's quest, Princess Kate, had always carried Diana's legacy with elegance. Every time she wore one of her late mother-in-law's pieces, it sent a message of connection, of continuity, of love. So when she planned to attend a prestigious charity gala, she requested something special: Diana's sapphire brooch. But the answer came back cold. It was unavailable. No explanation, no reason, just missing. Kate didn't take it lightly. She asked again. This time, her inquiry made its way through royal channels, and whispers returned the brooch had not been lost. It had been hidden. And suddenly, the emotional floodgates opened. "She felt hurt," said a close friend, "not just because the brooch was hidden, but because no one had told her. It felt like a betrayal." For Kate, this wasn't about the jewelry itself. It was about honoring Diana's legacy, connecting with the past, and carrying it forward. Wearing that brooch at the gala was meant to be symbolic. To discover it had been locked away, and possibly by Camilla, struck deep. What made it worse, she had always believed the monarchy worked on trust, transparency, and tradition. But now, with the truth of the vault out, she realized that wasn't always the case. Determined, Kate confronted royal aides. She asked for answers. Some tried to deflect, others offered vague explanations. But eventually, her search led to an uncomfortable conclusion: Camilla had access, and possibly control, over the vault. And just like that, The quiet rift between Kate and Camilla became impossible to ignore. Now the whispers turned into a confrontation. The gloves were off. Inside a private royal chamber, Kate faced Camilla not as rivals, not even just as royals, but as women standing on opposite sides of history. The conversation was intense, personal, and emotionally charged. And though no one knows exactly what was said, sources say it changed everything. Kate demands justice, no press, no advisors, just two women with decades of tension between them, finally forced to address what had been silently building for years. Kate didn't hold back. She demanded to know why the jewels were hidden, why the sapphire brooch was withheld, why Diana's memory was being treated like a secret. Those weren't just her jewels, Kate said, according to a palace insider. They're part of who she was, and they were meant for her sons, for her legacy. Camilla, both caught off guard, responded calmly but firmly. She denied any malicious intent. She claimed the jewelry was kept safe, not hidden, that in the chaos of royal transitions, not everything had been properly documented. But Kate didn't accept it. "You had a choice," she reportedly replied, "and you chose silence." The conversation turned heated. Voices were raised. Years of restraint cracked open. Kate insisted that the jewelry be returned not just to her, but to the public eye. These pieces belonged to the memory of a woman the world loved, not to a locked vault. As tensions escalated, King Charles intervened. Sources say he stepped in midway through the meeting, trying to de-escalate and mediate. He urged both women to see reason, to consider the bigger picture, the unity of the royal family. But even Charles couldn't deny it, the damage had been done. The confrontation didn't end in resolution. It ended in silence. And from that silence came an eerie uncertainty, no official statement, no resolution, just questions hanging in the air. As word of the confrontation leaked beyond palace walls, the media caught fire. Headlines exploded, social media erupted, public opinion began to shift, and fast. The story had moved from quiet discovery to open conflict, and now the people were ready to weigh in. Because in the court of public opinion, only one side could emerge with their crown intact. Camilla's perspective, when the headlines hit, Queen Camilla knew the tide was turning, and fast. The hidden vault had thrown her into the center of a royal scandal, and public opinion was growing colder by the hour. She had two choices: stay silent or speak out, and she chose to speak. In a carefully worded public statement released through the palace, Camilla denied any wrongdoing. She claimed that the jewelry had never been hidden, only secured in a private collection for safekeeping. She said it was never her intention to keep the heirlooms from William, Kate, or the public, but the statement raised eyebrows. To many, it sounded like damage control. She didn't apologize, one royal correspondent noted. She justified. In private, Camilla tried to explain herself to family members. She said the royal archive was chaotic, that many items had never been formally reassigned, and that she believed it was her duty to protect certain pieces until the monarchy could stabilize. But not everyone bought it. "She's had over a decade to return them," a palace aide confided. Why no? The court of public opinion wasn't kind. The emotional weight of Diana's memory was simply too strong. Many saw Camilla not as a protector, but as a gatekeeper, someone who had the power to honor the past, but instead chose to lock it away. And while Camilla tried to repair the damage, the scars had already formed. The internet was ablaze, press tread digging. The family was divided. Her statement hadn't closed the door, it had only opened it wider. Camilla's statement might have been the palace's attempt to calm the storm, but outside those gates, the fire was spreading fast. The media smelled blood. Social platforms picked sides. And suddenly the story wasn't just about jewelry. It was about legacy, loyalty, and truth. The crown wasn't controlling the narrative anymore. The people were, and they were watching every move. Media analysis. Once the story broke, it was everywhere from major networks to late-night gossip panels. Everyone had something to say. But it wasn't just the story itself that mattered. It was how the media framed it. Some outlets took Camilla's side, calling the controversy overblown and blaming royal housekeeping errors. Others painted her as a calculated figure who had tried to erase Diana's legacy one brooch at a time. The press was split, but the people, not so much. Across social media, hashtags like @JusticeDiana, @Kate Deserves Better, and #NotMyQueen trended globally. Influencers, historians, and even former palace employees began weighing in. This isn't about diamonds, one viral tweet read. It's about who we choose to remember and who we're told to forget. The palace's press team scrambled to regain control, but the internet moves faster than tradition. Each new leak, each quote from an anonymous source, only made things worse. The monarchy, long known for its ability to control the narrative, found itself on the defensive. Even respected broadcasters started drawing comparisons to past royal controversies. This feels like history repeating itself, one BBC anchor commented. The palace's silence only fuels the fire. What's more, public trust in the monarchy began to slip. A new poll revealed a sharp dip in approval ratings for Camilla, support for Kate and William, however, surged. The palace had underestimated one thing: people still cared deeply about Diana, and anything that seemed to disrespect her memory, no matter how small, was bound to explode. But this wasn't the first time the crown had faced such backlash. In fact, many observers began to notice a pattern, a recurring cycle of secrecy, missteps, and public outcry. And as the media frenzy continued, one question kept surfacing again and again. Have we seen this before? Because when it comes to the royal family, history always has a way of repeating itself. Historical context: for those who followed the royal family closely, this scandal felt oddly familiar. Because this wasn't the first time Diana's legacy had triggered a crisis behind palace walls. Decades ago, the very relationship between Diana, Charles, and Camilla had divided the nation. Back then, it was about affairs and heartbreak. Now it was about heirlooms. But the emotional stakes felt just as high. "This is just another chapter in the same book," said a royal biographer. The tension between Diana's memory and Camilla's role in the family has never truly gone away. Over the years, there have been multiple incidents of royal mismanagement, lost heirlooms, quiet removals of portraits, and shifting narratives about who owns what. But none stirred the public like this one, because this time it involves something physical, tangible, visual, emotional, a piece of Diana you could hold in your hand. The royal family has always walked a tightrope between tradition and modernity, but with every scandal, that rope grows thinner, and the people grow louder. You'd think they'd have learned by now, one royal watcher tweeted, "Hide something, and we will find it." But it wasn't just public pressure. Internally, the palace began facing calls for reform. Advisors recommended overhauls to how heirlooms are tracked, shared, and preserved. New transparency measures were proposed. Even some senior royals began supporting changes behind the scenes. Why? Because they knew something had shifted, not just in the family, but in the people. The days of silent loyalty were fading. Now the monarchy had to earn its respect. And as this story continued to unfold, one thing became clear: the past wasn't staying buried. Not anymore. So where does the monarchy go from here? The vault has been opened, literally and symbolically. Camilla has spoken. Kate has stood her ground. The public is watching like never before. But deeper questions still linger about ownership, responsibility, and redemption. The next chapter isn't just about jewels, it's about legacy. And for William, that means facing a choice between duty and family. The role of social media. If the palace once controlled the narrative, social media shattered that illusion. What began as a quiet controversy exploded into a full-blown movement. Hashtags like #Return Diana's Legacy and #Justice for Kate trended globally within hours of the confrontation. News-breaking Instagram Reels, TikTok theories, Twitter threads, millions joined the conversation. And they weren't just talking, they were choosing sides. Public sympathy leaned overwhelmingly toward Kate, seen as Diana's emotional successor. Clips comparing her grace to Diana's warmth flooded feeds. Emotional tributes resurfaced, showing Diana wearing the sapphire brooch, reminding the world what that jewelry symbolized. The message was clear: Camilla's actions felt like an erasure of a beloved legacy. Influencers, celebrities, and even former royal employees began weighing in. Diana gave the crown its heart, one post read, and now they've tried to lock it in a vault. The post racked up millions of views in hours. What made this wave different? It was people-powered. The monarchy, used to managing scandal through formal statements and silent diplomacy, now faced a new battlefield: digital accountability. There was no script, no palace wall could block a hashtag. And it wasn't just criticism. Thousands expressed love for Diana and support for Kate. Many shared personal stories of watching Diana through the years: her kindness, her charm, her vulnerability. The jewelry represented more than wealth, it symbolized connection. The palace tried to respond: brief statements, vague clarifications. But the digital world doesn't wait. Screenshots live forever. Threads became timelines. TikTok turned speculation into storytelling. What started in a hidden vault had become a global reckoning, powered not by press offices but by people. And with every post, the pressure to change grew louder. As royal aides struggled to keep up with the digital tide, one question echoed through palace corridors: how could they prevent something like this from happening again? With trust damaged and traditions questioned, the monarchy had no choice but to take action. And behind those ancient walls, something rare was happening: a willingness to change. Policies were reviewed, protocols rewritten, the future of royal heirlooms. In the wake of public outcry, Buckingham Palace quietly launched an internal audit, a full-scale review of every heirloom, artifact, and personal possession linked to royal history. It wasn't just about Diana's jewels anymore. It was about restoring order and trust. For the first time in decades, senior royals, advisors, and legal experts met to discuss new rules around heirloom transparency: who owns what belongs to the crown, what belongs to the family, and, most importantly, who decides. A plan was set into motion: a comprehensive inventory of royal assets, tracked digitally with transparent documentation of where key pieces are held. Royal historians were brought in to cross-reference older records. Vaults were opened, lists were verified. The aim: never again would a priceless piece vanish behind a locked door without someone noticing. Accountability isn't weakness, said one royal advisor. It's survival. The changes didn't stop there. A new initiative was launched to educate the public about the history and meaning of key royal heirlooms. Official exhibitions were planned. Digital showcases allowed the public to explore iconic pieces, including Diana's, without secrecy. And in perhaps the most symbolic shift of all, Princess Kate was granted permanent access to select pieces from Diana's private collection, including the brooch, a gesture of healing, possibly a public relations move, maybe both, but to many, it felt like justice. Even Prince William weighed in privately, saying, "We honor my mother by sharing her spirit, not locking it away." But whispers remain. Will these policy shifts last? Or are they simply meant to calm the storm? One thing's certain: the monarchy cannot afford another hidden vault. The people want transparency, and they're no longer afraid to demand it. As the dust settles, one thing has become clear. This wasn't just a scandal about jewelry, it was a turning point. The monarchy, shaken and exposed, is being forced to evolve. But the wounds within the family run deep. Can tradition and trust truly coexist? Or is this the start of something even bigger? The final chapter may reveal more than anyone expected. A turning point for the monarchy. The fallout from the Hidden Vault saga left Buckingham Palace changed forever. What began as a quiet discovery turned into a full-scale confrontation, then a national outcry, and finally a reckoning. For Princess Kate, the journey was deeply personal. She stood firm, defended Diana's legacy, and emerged as a symbol of strength, loyalty, and dignity. The public rallied behind her, not because of a brooch, but because she carried Diana's spirit with grace. For Queen Camilla, the damage was more complicated. Though she offered explanations, they never quite erased the perception that something had been taken and kept. Her popularity took a hit, and while she remains a central figure in the monarchy, the shadows of the past still follow her. Prince William, caught between duty and love, faced his own trials. He supported his wife, honored his mother, and balanced the weight of the crown on his shoulders. His leadership in the aftermath quietly shaped the palace's response, and many say this was the moment he began stepping into his future role not just as a prince, but as a king in waiting. The monarchy, too, faced a mirror. It saw the cracks in its armor, the flaws in its secrecy, the dangers of forgetting that public trust must be earned, not assumed. So what comes next? The royal family has promised transparency. They've restructured protocols. They've reassured the people that Diana's memory will never be buried again. But more than that, this moment sparks something deeper, a demand for modernization. Younger generations want a monarchy that reflects today's values: openness, fairness, emotional intelligence. This scandal, as painful as it was, may have forced the royal institution to step closer to that future. And maybe, just maybe, Diana's legacy, one of empathy, connection, and light, helped push them there. Even now, long after her passing, her voice echoes through the palace halls, not through words but through truth. And as this royal drama unfolds, the palace faces a storm unlike any in recent memory. The Hidden Vault has ignited more than scandal. It's ignited a public demand for truth, transparency, and respect for Diana's legacy. Kate Middleton has emerged not just as a royal, but as a symbol of grace under fire. Her quiet strength, her unwavering connection to Diana's memory, and her bold stand against secrecy have struck a chord with millions. Meanwhile, Queen Camilla's reputation hangs in the balance. Despite her public statement, questions remain. Was it a misunderstanding or a cover-up? As the monarchy races to modernize and rebuild trust, the world watches every move. One thing is clear: this wasn't just about jewelry. It was about memory, about legacy, about who gets to tell the royal family's story and who gets left out. So will the crown finally change its ways, or will the shadows of the past rise once again? Stay tuned, because in the House of Windsor, nothing stays hidden forever.